speaker portion of the meeting. I invited Mike here. I've known Mike for a couple years now. Met him in Doylestown. I love when he shares that our Big Book meeting always has some good insight, and I can't wait to hear his message tonight. So please welcome Mike.
Thanks, Nate. Hey everyone, my name's Mike. I'm an alcoholic.
Hello, Mike.
Thanks for coming out in the cold. I just did this Wednesday night, so I apologize. I used up all my good stuff Wednesday. But, so, I started drinking in '78 between kindergarten, geez.
Yep, me too.
I was an early riser, but between 8th grade and freshman year. And I loved it, you know. My brother took me out behind our house. We had about an acre, and I just loved it. Like I didn't feel, it's like everybody. Like I had arrived, like Bill W. talks about in the Big Book. You know, the insecurities left. I was a little insecure. Felt a little insecure, insufficient my whole life. You know, so now I got along with the big boys. You know, because they were 16. You know, they knew everything. They knew how to talk to girls and all that. So I was going to do anything that they did. I was going to emulate them. And that emulation would hurt me later, not just in alcoholism, but in sobriety. And I'll get to that because I went from a decent kid, decent school, normal kind of. I grew up in Central Illinois. If you walked 120 miles straight south of Chicago, you'd find my hometown. So I was the middle child of 5. I said I started drinking, and a couple years before they had switched me from the public school to the Catholic school, and I just went into a rage. So a 12-year-old in a rage with a big father ain't much, but I was pretty. And it just kind of never got over that anger, you know. So the alcohol subsided that a little bit. So I never realized until I got sober that normal 14-year-old boys weren't drinking half pints of cherry vodka at halftime of the basketball games. I thought it was normal behavior, like instantly. You know, I got to school Monday morning, I was playing in the weekend. I'm doing, dry goods on the way to school to the bus stop every day. So, like I said, I went from 0 to 60 in nothing overnight. So, so I ripped and run for all those years. My brother ran off to the Navy when he was 18, and so I thought, I'm going nowhere. My grades struggled so much from drinking and drugging that I couldn't get into any colleges, even though I was getting letters, Arizona State, Northwestern. There's some, pretty heavy hitters sent me some football letters. But when you got a 1.9 grade point average, I had to walk 25 miles for the March of Dimes to graduate high school to pass Illinois history. I'm raised there for 18 years. I know nothing about Illinois. So I walked the 25 miles for the March of Dimes. I passed high school. But my alcoholic mentality, I go to a junior college in LaSalle, Peru, Illinois, and I'm doing 2-a-days at this junior college. I'm playing with some big boys. And it's 2-a-days. I'm working. I'm riding my bike back and forth. I'm all alone. I'm 4 hours from home. And I already made up my mind to quit. I hadn't drank in a couple weeks. I hadn't used in a couple weeks. My girlfriend just visited me. I'm out of my element. I'm uncomfortable again. I'm back to 14 years old. Inadequate, insufficient. And I wanted to get back to what I know, where people, would praise me for being good and beautiful. And so I made up my mind to quit. I said, but I'm going to go to one more practice. Is that alcoholic? I don't know. Sounds to me like it. But so I go to practice, and I'm doing a linebacker drill. And I'm done with the drill, and the linebacker coach comes up, and he says, if you keep this up, you'll play for us. Now, a normal person hears that. He's going to work a little harder. But I'd already done it. I already knew there was a party in town. I already knew when I was going. I knew how I was going to get there. And I was drunk in the woods 8 hours later in Illinois. Things would deteriorate very, very quickly for me. 20 years old, I decided, I'm just going to drink myself to death, or, I was kind of dead end. So I'm going to join the Army. So I joined the Army. I'm getting ready to go off to boot camp. The one last hurrah. So me and my buddy Charlie go on a canoe trip. We do what you do when you go canoeing. Slept under a railroad trestle and got up, and we checked out this building. I ended up grabbing a 5,000 volt wire. So that wasn't good. It was So I ended up losing part of my hand, was in the hospital for 6 weeks. So now I'm 20 years old, ex-football star, egomaniac with an inferiority complex who's handicapped. So now the worst thing about it is now it's pour me another drink, because now I really got a reason to drink. So my friends are gone. Some of them because I drank too much, some of them because they got lives, So I come out of the hospital and now I love Demerol. But you can't get Demerol on the street, so. Now I'm staying home. My parents don't know what to do with me, and I'm just kind of ripping and running again, and I'm not even trying to figure anything out. Like, it's just my way of life. Like, I looked back when I got, after 2 or 3 years sober, I would go through the steps for the second time, and I really didn't even know that I didn't know. I wasn't even thinking about a career. I was just thinking about drinking. And I would go back and remember that in the back of my mom's house, my parents' house, how from that first time I drank, I was just gone. I can't say it enough. It was just, I was hell-bent for leather to stay drunk. And so I'm all alone. I'm 20 years old. I haven't held a job except for my mom's paper business. Anybody could throw a paper on the porch, right? Drunk or sober. But, so now I'm just I turned 23, and I'm just going nowhere. I'm not holding a job. And I meet this fine young girl in a bar in Danville, Illinois, Deb's Belly Up Bar. Nickel beer night on Wednesday nights, that's a long time ago, nickel beer night. But so we hook up and we have a kid. And then she had 2 more kids, and so, but that's 23. Before my son turned 1 in 1988, I went to a 28-day treatment program. And I really wanted to stay sober. I electrocuted myself on one of the big 3 automakers' property, so of course I'm suing them, because that's what you do, even though you're at fault. And I won $3 million. So now I'm just waiting, because it's going to make it better. I heard I read a book called Ebby, the Man Who Sponsored Bill W., and they felt that with Ebby Thatcher. They thought he always thought if he could just get this or get that, things would be better, and life would be good, and sobriety would be good. And after reading that book, I realized that's what it was like for me. I would hear it in meetings, people say that, but, so from 84 when I was electrocuted until 88, I really did nothing because I'm just waiting for this money. Of course, he said 10 million. I ended up getting 3. However, there's always a however in the alcoholic story. So I haven't held a job. I went to treatment in 88. I did not stay sober. My attorney said, Mike, you're either going to die or you're going to go to a penitentiary if you don't get some help. I'm 23. I'm tired of waking up in alleys beaten, having to fight my way out of and into bars. It's just no way to live, I don't know if any of you have been to the Midwest, but there's a lot of flannel. I did not want to die in flannel. But so anyway, I got a DUI in 85, got a DUI in 87. I tell you, one of the best things to happen to Mike was that I got a job at a liquor store in 1987, and it skyrocketed my drinking like tenfold. I really believe that. Like, you can't survive that drinking. You're either going to die or go to AA, you know what I mean, or a penitentiary. You just can't survive that much drinking. And so I lost that job, surprisingly enough, after I got a DUI. So I went to treatment in 88. And then I would go in 90, but I would use it in treatment. I don't know who thought of the idea to give detainees, that's what I call them, a 2-hour pass at a treatment center, And then after 2 weeks, you get a 4-hour pass. Well, that was the good one for me. So anyway, needless to say, that didn't take. So I've got 3 kids now. It's 1994. I've gotten my 3rd DUI. I lost my umpteenth job. The job before, that job that I lost in 87 to go to treatment. I remember walking out of I got my last check and I'm walking out, and John Landry, the owner, who knew my dad, everybody knew my dad because he was a referee in town, referee, umpire, you name it, so they all knew Dallas. He said, Mike, what happened to you? You started out like a ball of fire. Like, that was my life. You give me a couple weeks off of drinking, I'm a ball of fire. I just can't sustain it. You know, and that was my whole problem drinking. I was great at stopping drinking, but I couldn't stand what would happen after a week, 2 weeks, man. The stuff would just start flooding back, and the pain and the remorse and the guilt and the shame and the kids that got no food, and I'm on food stamps. I'm not supposed to be on food stamps because I'm a football star. I mean, I'm 29 and 9 fingers and a bad attitude and 3 DUIs, but I should be a football star. Oh, the delusion was grand. So my mom said she had gotten sober when I went to treatment in '88. I didn't even know my mom was an alcoholic. But her dad died drunk, her brother died drunk, her cousin died drunk. I remember coming into my room at night in the morning, and she just started screaming at me. I buried my family. I'm not burying another alcoholic because I'm in a church. I'm not saying it. What happened was I went to bed eating potato salad, and I fell asleep. So the potato salad, she thought I vomited all over myself. So I held on to this all these years. I mean, I was 21, 22. So that's a long time ago. And I remember it because it's the only time that I didn't have vomit on me. You know, it's that one time that the alcoholic look for when I'm right. Oh no, I remember in '78. Oh my God. But you know, I wouldn't drink for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and I'd see my kids, you know, and I remember waking up and coming out of the room, coming to right there at the end. I shared this the other day, and my kids would be in the middle of the kitchen, and the cereal boxes would be poured on the floor, and they're just eating it because mom and dad are drunk. Mom and dad are passed out in the bedroom, you know. And I can't stay sober on that. You know, I can't think about that and stay sober. You know, so my estranged wife and I, and my parents met with me, so here's my life again. I'm sitting in what's that seafood restaurant? Anyway, we're sitting in a
Fancy?
seafood, no, lot fancier than that.
Red Lobster?
Red Lobster, yeah. And the waitress comes up and says, are you Mr. Anonymity? I'll use anonymity. And I said, yeah. I said, well, there's somebody on the phone for you. It was the daycare center had found me to tell me this was my kid's life. My wife had not picked up the kids at daycare, the other two, because me and my oldest son were on our birthday dinner with my parents. So we had to leave dinner and go get them. We were talking about me going to treatment, and I would go to treatment. I'd go to a place called Choices Counseling Center in Winter Park, Florida. I had a one-way ticket. The state of Illinois said, please go. I asked their permission because I was facing multiple DUIs and all that stuff, and 1 to 3 in prison. And by God, if just something happened. I don't remember what happened. I'm not that guy that says I just hadn't made a decision, but about 5 months sober was the first time I realized that I was walking into this Circle K in Winter Park, Florida, every day and didn't buy alcohol even though I had money in my pocket because I was going to meetings. Like, I felt like I was responsible to somebody for the first time because they weren't out to steal from me. You know what I mean? They weren't out to take something from me in the Alcoholics Anonymous. So I kept going, 6:30 in the morning every day for 6 years. And I got my kids. I took custody of my kids at 2 years sober. So now I got a 9, a 6, and a 5-year-old boys. I got no license, $8 an hour. It was an uphill battle, you know. And I'm living with some guys in the program, and the kids love them, and it's kind of a guy den, and you know, I'm staying sober, and I'm riding my bike to work, and I gotta ask for help, man. I tell you what, if you're forced to ask for help in Alcoholics Anonymous, you are in a good position. If you don't have to ask for help, I think it's just, you know, it's a little bit of a struggle for people that don't have to ask for help. You know, because I couldn't get to the grocery store. I got 3 kids. I can't get them to the doctor appointment. I'm on the bike going to parent-teacher conferences, you know. Fortunately, it was Florida because it would not be good right now, you know, going to a parent-teacher conference with your kindergartner on the back of the bike. You know, but and then I met another fine lady. She was a couple years sober than me, and we would meet in treatment, and they weren't big on relationships and treatment in the counseling center, so we left. They had couples group now, but you had to do it their way, kind of Hotel California thing, but that's a whole nother speech. So, you know, we left, and I couldn't have children because I had had enough, but my daughter's my little lemon shake up. We had in vitro, and, you know, so, well, she had what many of my girls' friends and wives had. They had a change of heart. And it wasn't good, so we divorced in 2004. So I'm 10 years sober. I've been going to AA. You know, backtrack a bit. When my kids came to live with me, the Greenhouse group of Central Florida moved to a strip mall in the same neighborhood I was in. So I'm 2 streets behind the main street. I could put my kids in bed at 7:45, 7:45, or 5 to 8, and I could walk to the Greenhouse for an 8 o'clock meeting every night. Is that odd or is that God? You know what I mean? I mean, there's no meeting. I got no license, you know. And life is good, you know. The kids are kind of getting restored to sanity. I'm restored to sanity. Their mother comes down and gets sober. She picked up 25 years a couple months ago. I didn't. You know, but that's okay. That's my path. And so I kept going to meetings. I didn't really get involved, but then, you know, the thing that happens to a lot of people, and the most dangerous thing for Mike, is I just kind of stepped back a little because I had the stuff. I didn't even have a thought. You know, it wasn't, you know, I got everything I need. I'm not going to go to meetings so much. You know, I've gone from food stamps to $1.25 a year with no education. I've done it. My wife's happy with me, and she's master's degrees and stuff. I'm like, you know, she can do better. I can't. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. Well, so we started arguing a little bit, trying to combine families. We don't ask for help. So Mr. has to ask for help from everybody. Goes to not asking for help from anybody. I'm not asking for help on how to be in a relationship and be sober. I'm not asking for help on how to combine a family from anybody. You know, AA is a treasure trove of advice, good and bad, you know. If I'm asking, I'm going to find the answer. If I'm searching, God couldn't would if he were sought. If I'm searching, there's an answer somewhere for me to find. But I just kind of know I got it. You know, I got it. And as my friend there says, one thing I was unwilling to turn over was sex and checks. You know what I mean? Like I did that relationship on my own. And struggling with that this very day, the relationship portion of it, even though I got people in it. But, you know, so we would divorce. And I was 10 years sober, and I got to meetings again. Well, I never really stopped. I got to meetings, and then, you know, on a bright sunny day, we ended up getting remarried because I figured, you know, we went to our corners and just came out swinging. So we retried it, we rekindled. And then I really stepped back because I moved to Texas for about 9 months after a hurricane in 2009. Now I'm really making lots of money. And I just didn't have time anymore, you know. That youngest son that gave me fits, he would break into a couple houses and get caught with his stepbrother, but he wouldn't turn his stepbrother in, and he would go to prison for 9 months in the state of Florida. So now I'm really angry because I'm like, how does this happen? So on a bright sunny day, about 2 years of no meetings, bright sunny day, it says in the big book, not a cloud in the sky or something like that, I walked into an ABC and got a 6-pack. And I tell you, with all honesty, I did not have a thought of going to that ABC. I didn't have a premonition. I didn't have 2 weeks of bad stuff going on. I just remodeled my house, $30,000. I had the best house on the block. And I'm walking into an ABC. Because I had been so removed from Alcoholics Anonymous, so removed from God and the program and service, and love, you know. I just didn't know that I didn't know. Again, 17 years sober. Within 2 weeks, it was a fifth a day again. See, I'm not on food stamps now. I got a bank account. But I'm still in ditches. Still in ditches again. my wife would tease me that they drove by looking for me because they knew they just dropped me off at the meeting. Where could I go? Every damn liquor store on the way, that's where I went. And they said, all of a sudden you just stood up out of a ditch. You know, and I really I laugh at that. And my old sponsor from Florida, he always says, Mike, it was really a nice ditch. I mean, it's Florida. It's very well groomed. Not like Illinois. That shit's overgrown and cockleburrs. Florida are nice ditches. But I would meet Phil, who would take me through the steps. I would be out there for 2.5 years. I'd lose that contract. I'd lose that job. I'd lose that, you know, I almost lost my wife. She would end up drinking again and drugging. And I crawled my way back in, and I went to a detox at Central Florida Behavioral Health. Not really a detox. You can tell by the word behavioral. You know, there's some inpatients in there long term. And I'm judging. I'm thinking, you know, hey, can't believe I'm in here. I'm just an alcoholic. Anyway, you know, I never really finished the steps in that 17 years. Oh, I went to a lot of big book meetings. I got up to 8, and I did some amends. But I just kind of was in AA, just kind of in. And I would get sober in June 14th, June 12th, 2014. And things were good. That sponsor, Phil, he made that book come alive. We went through it every day. And he would explain what these words mean, because I didn't know. You know, even though I could read, I've read hundreds of sci-fi books, but I couldn't slow down my reading enough to take in the meaning of the big book. And I think that's why it's so important for the sponsor to sit down, explain it, explain the history. No, stop right there. Put that in the form of a question. You know, and I would do that, and I just, wow, I never saw that. Because that happens now based on my spiritual condition, you know. The big book takes on new meaning every time I go through it with somebody else. And that's a beautiful thing for me. But you know something? I moved here 2016 September because this is where her family's at, and I just was tired of having my own business. There's a great company up here, 100 years old, that I went to work for. Bad move. She showed up so high out of her mind that her family did an intervention once I got up here, you know, and I joke about it, it's probably not good, but they say, well, how'd you get sober again? I said, I divorced my barbershop. You know, that you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. Well, that's me. I mean, I can't do it. I'm not that guy that has alcohol in the house. Not the guy that can be married to the drug addict, because I'm going to end up using. And it's not her fault. Nobody ever poured a beer into my hand, but just a bad situation made worse by the fact that I was out of AA again. I went from a great group. I was alternate GSR. I was involved. And here I am in a new town with people that take breaks in their meeting. Those losers, you know, so... You know, things, we're living with our in-laws, you know, so they're, so, you know, and it happened to me. I remember the story, I think it's the accountant. Yeah, so I go to Red Lobster to get away from all the crazy people, and I'm sitting at the table, because I won't sit at the bar, I'm a good AA. And I remember thinking the beer sounded good. Oh, no, you got to get out of there. So I ate my dinner and I got out. And I swear, it took me a couple years of sobriety, so like last year, before I would realize what happened. It was just like the book. The book is so true for me. It's my whole life, like 85 years ago. I started thinking, you know, that steak was pretty good over at the Outback Steakhouse the other day. Like the subtleness of alcohol. It wasn't, I mean, the steak was good, don't get me wrong, for an Outback. I wanted that beer, and that's the night I had the beer, a week later. I didn't tell anybody about it. You know, all those years asking for help. Again, I don't have anybody to call, even though I had 100 people to call, because I had the same list you guys got. But the thing weighed 100 pounds, the phone, because I kind of gave up, you know. And the thing about my story is this: if I stop, I immediately go back. And the period between me stopping AA, living a life of recovery and drinking, got shorter. I went about 5 years with no AA before I drank. The second time I went 2 months. And I hit it harder, I hit it faster. And I remember calling Ron from an airport, said, I'm going to Jacksonville. I need help. And he would help me. And then I got back from treatment and I called him again. I wouldn't pick up that phone, man. You know, my ego never goes away. Alcohol tells me it's going to be okay. I got you. Even when I don't know it, you know. But it doesn't say take a drink. It's never told me to take a drink. It says, screw her, screw him. You don't need that. You know, screw them all. Stuff like that. It tells me the other stuff to where I just can't take it. I can't take it anymore. So I would end up going to treatment. My wife left while I was in treatment. I moved back to Florida. Turned out to be a pretty good thing. You know, and here I am, you know, and I've worked the steps again. I stay involved all the time. Now I'm GSR at the Expect a Miracle. I'm going to stay involved at whatever group I'm in or wherever I go. I sponsor people. I am sponsored. I call them. They don't have to call me, but I don't call them all the time, you know, because when they handed me that list and they said, here, call these people. What do I say? Well, some guy came up and said, what's your number? I said, well, back in Florida. And he called me up and he taught me what to say. And he said, you know, Mike, when you were a kid, what did you do all day? Oh, you call your friends, put the picture of the guy on the floor, talking with the 18-foot phone cord, talking to his friends, talking about stuff. Oh, did you see that girl in class today? Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm just almost a full-grown man now. I'm just calling people. I'm telling them about my day. I'm asking them what they want to do. It's the same thing. It's just my perception got screwed up from alcoholism and drug addiction, you know? So I know I'm going over, but June 4th, I'll have 3 years again. So that'll be 23 out of 28. I guess it's not bad. I'd rather they be all in a row, but that's my story. You know, I'm here to tell you that if you stop, you drop. You know what I mean? And I heard somebody say the other day, well, you know, I'll die if I drink. I said, well, you know what? Chances are you won't. And you are going to be miserable. You can count on that. So thanks, everybody, for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Okay, we'll take an Indian Valley 5-minute break.
What? I knew that was coming.